to the AI Show Southwest, the podcast where we explore how organizations in the Southwest are using AI. I'm your host, Shane Solomon, and my co-host, the wonderful Matt Greaves. Always a pleasure, Matt.
Likewise. Thank you, Shane.
We've had a busy studio session today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just going to get even better.
I know. Today, we're uncovering the tech landscape in Torbay and Devon. And we're super excited to be joined by Troy Wheeler, the Group Managing Director at Tomlinson Solutions based in Devon. Welcome.
Thank you. It's really exciting to be here. Really exciting to meet you both again. And yeah, looking forward to uncovering the landscape.
I know, right? And how long of a journey was it to get here?
I think, what was it, hour and a half?
That's not too bad.
Hour and a half. Well, Ian's King State, and so we kind of travelled out from King State. But maybe from Brixham for me was about hour and 45 minutes. But
you know,
it was sunny.
We was talking in the green room before. I got great memories of Torbay, Brixham, all the boat trips. You know, very happy childhood memories for me. First time of meeting both you and Ian today for me, and what a force, what an energy you both are. I can see why your company is heading for great heights.
That's it. It's a super exciting time for us, and you know, if we keep that energy high as well, you know, it helps with the team as well. But it's also such an exciting field that we work in. It's not just ourselves. You know, when we're hearing new stuff coming out every day, it's kind of hard to contain the energy.
Well, I tell you what, I'm super impressed by. I think you're probably the first 16-year-old managing director I've ever seen. He's not 16, by the way, but very young looking, fresh face. So, tell me a bit about your journey at becoming the managing director at this wonderful company.
I mean, that's a very good question. Not sure quite where I begin. So I've been in the IT cybersecurity space for 10 years now. Began my journey in...
He didn't start when he was 5.
I'll teach you how to get this skin
Mate,
after.
Please do. We'll make a fortune together, okay?
So I started my journey in aerospace engineering when I was 15, fresh out of secondary school. Realised the educational pathway for me wasn't going to university. I started my A-levels in almost a 2-week induction, and you know, it wasn't for me. I don't like being spoken at. I like collaborating and, you know, coming up with ideas with people. And I thought, you know, what's the best way to go down this as a kind of career pathway? And, you know, I decided that kind of going down the apprenticeship pathway, you know, this was around the time when apprenticeships were really coming to life, getting that vocational qualification, but also getting the education required to kind of be able to perform at that level of the engineers. So yeah, I started off and realized, you know, I don't like getting my hands dirty. So I did a kind of year on the engineering side, and then they realized I was very good with numbers. So they moved me to a data science qualification, which I completed with EMEA Aerospace. I then, from there, decided I wanted to move to South Korea. So I moved to South Korea when I was 19. Actually working at a very prestigious boarding school, which was it was a North London boarding school, very prestigious on a small island in South Korea. Wow. And from there, really, I just learnt so much out there around culture and realizing that there's far more to the world, even in terms of business, life lessons and soft skills, than what we have to offer in the UK. And I would say for me, that was the changing factor in my life of realizing what I wanted to do as a person. I came back, I then went down the full IT qualification pathway, cybersecurity qualification pathway with a managed service provider in Exeter. I then went and worked for a corporate organisation in Bristol as European IT and cybersecurity manager. Scary title to have at 21, but exciting. Then I realised I didn't like the corporate world. As you can see, there's a bit of a pattern here. I try things, I don't like them. I try things, I don't like them. But then what really happened was a kind of change and a curvature here, is I started off my own business. I realised my skills lie in entrepreneurship. That's what I've been missing my whole life. I say my whole life. It was, 21-year-old.
I know.
Accelerated, but up to that point. And for me, it was really, really exciting to go, you know what, I've started up my own business. And I was doing this alongside this corporate job on the side, you know, doing some cybersecurity work in the evening for people as a newly qualified cybersecurity consultant. And then going, you know, I want to do this full time. I don't want to be working, you know, those regular 9 to 5 hours anymore. and that's quite an early realization, because a lot of people get to their 30s, 40s and go, oh, you know what, I can actually start a business. For me, best decision of my life. 6 months into that business, I met my brilliant business partner, and today executive producer.
Indeed.
Met my brilliant business partner, Ian Tomlinson of Tomlinson Solutions. We did about 6 months of subcontracting, and realised, I'm not getting emotional here, but there was a real spark between us. What Ian could bring to the table, what I could bring to the table. It intertwined so well that we kind of developed this fantastic working relationship. And, we've probably grown the business. Well, I mean, staff-wise, we've grown it 10 times since then. Revenue-wise, we've grown it probably 5-6 times. And, between us together, we've become kind of a formidable force in the Southwest, and kind of one of the fastest growing IT providers in the country, not just in the Southwest. We had investors come in the other day and we've been through our numbers, and they've gone, you know what, you're not just one of the fastest growing IT providers in the Southwest. You're one of the fastest growing businesses in the UK. For me, that was kind of a scary thing for us to look at and look back and kind of realize this is where we started the journey. And you know what? I've not regretted a day of, the failures I've been through, the different relationships I've built, and the partnership, which we coincidentally met at a completely random location at a completely random time, changed the life of both of us.
What a story. Matt, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, blown away. I think it's incredible what you've been through. And, you say, you found things you didn't like, but ultimately that's got you to where you are today, right? And, that energy, when I met with you and the team, that really came through. The partnership with you and Ian, really, you could feel the energy about the company that you guys are running. It was incredible.
That's it. And, we touch on the kind of the failures and the times where I've gone, I'm not enjoying this. My number one value is I love failure. I've not met another person who has that value, but for me, it's the ability to embrace failure. You can mope and you can sit around if something doesn't go your way, or you can do something about it with your life. And it's the same in business. We've had, we've gone for tenders that we failed, for example. What we didn't hold back and go, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? No, they're wrong. They're this, they're that. It was be receptive, get that feedback, and, make a difference. Make a change. Failure is only a learning curve.
Correct.
And that's kind of what I've done with my career to get me to the point I am today.
Yeah, I love that. No such thing as failure, just feedback, right?
Exactly that.
So
every day is a learning day, right?
100%, as we learned just now.
It's like you can't have the good without the bad, but you can't have success without the failures, right? Because you've got to learn from those. Look, there's so much. This podcast could possibly be the longest one ever. It can't be, because we've got to try and keep it to the point. So many questions I want to go into, but the first one, look, AI. This is all about AI, this podcast. So how are you as a company embracing it? What are you using it for? Can you give us some examples, how you use it day to day?
Of course. So, firstly, I'll talk from an internal perspective of our business. Every business up to this point, until this generation, has done processes manually. And that's where hiring decisions have been made. Key business decisions have been made on how hard of a manual process something is, and realize they need to hire someone to get someone away from it, or that they don't have the capacity to do that anymore. For me, the power of automation, we're not even got to the AI solution yet. It's the automation piece that sits first. It's identifying those key processes in AI automations that really drive a business forward. You can't stick an AI solution in a business and expect it to do wonders for you. That's not what AI is. As I said to you, from my career journey, I've been in AI, as I said, data science. It's a very fancy term for how AI is built. It is a data science. It's a model. It's a model that's trained. It's something that's been around for longer than any of us actually know. Dates back to the 90s. I wasn't here, but it dates back to them.
I find that so hard to get into. You talk like you're 90, but you're actually 25.
I tell people I'm 25, I'm 40 up here, but I'm 70 in my back.
Well, they say an old head on young shoulders.
That's what you did say that before I met you. He was explaining how,
It's an exciting time. But so kind of going down that pathway of, realizing in business that you've got a process that's outdated. That is the turning point for businesses at the minute. It's understanding that focus of I've got this thing that's really time consuming, and it's, you've got that term, haven't you? Directors working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah.
What's the biggest turning point for that? That's where AI and automation comes in. That is what's going to allow businesses to, and it's not taking people away from businesses. Firstly, I'm going to touch on that point very early in this podcast. What it's going to do is it's going to take people out of the market who are not adapting to the market. That's what I live by. When I have, and I've done a talk at Plymouth University on, Sunday. That feels like a long time ago. I've done a talk on Sunday, and someone asked me the question directly: is AI taking our jobs? And it's an impossible question to answer. But the binary answer is no. The honest answer and the technical answer is it will replace those in the market who are not dynamic and are not agile enough to move with this new automation, this new AI kind of. It's a technical evolution we live in. This isn't electricity. This isn't light. We've been through those. Those are now consistent. Those are linear when we look at those on a graph. We're looking at an exponential here that we've not even begun to explore. So for us, that automation internally, I'd say we're 95% there, but that's 95% right now, but we're ready to embrace that innovation when it comes through those innovative pieces. This is a new solution. Great. How do we integrate this? It's not something like your finances, your accounts that, you're reviewing, and, not much is really changing. It's something that you need to be embracing every single day in your business to make those key decisions for you.
For sure. And how do you feel gut-wise, because you're young, like I keep saying, about AI? Does it frighten you at all? Does it make you just feel comfortable and think this is just going to be fine and it'll be what it'll be and it will evolve?
AI and automation, to say it doesn't have scary implications would be completely wrong with me. We got the whole rise of shadow AI. A good friend of mine, Dr. Joseph Ross of the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre, just wrote a fantastic paper on this, which I've just been through quite thoroughly. And it really outlines the key cybersecurity disadvantages to AI. And, it is scary for those people who are not embracing it and those who are embracing it in the wrong way and are not going through their usual governance, regulation, and compliance in line, sitting with that before deploying these AI things. Because everyone wants to skip the steps. That's the main thing here is, we can consider it like, I'm going to use this really corporate terminology now. You can consider it your North Star. AI should be your North Star. You've got a mountain range in front of you need to climb before you get there. That includes your IT governance. That includes training of staff, making sure all those processes and policies are thorough throughout your business and everybody's trained on those before it's deployed. So it's a scary field. The cybersecurity vector of it has opened up more than ever. What that means in English terms is there are more people using cybersecurity in a negative way than there are those people defending from those negative attacks. These days, as I spoke to you about Worm GPT as an example, development from China, which came and basically it took ChatGPT and went, we can make malware out of this, which is malicious software. That malicious software is designed to damage systems and businesses in the long run. So what that really does for businesses is now all of a sudden you don't have these trained ethical hackers anymore. Non-ethical. You don't have these trained ethical hackers who've gone bad, or you don't have these what we call black box hackers anymore. You have these random, what we call them I'll use the terminology we would actually use in cybersecurity of script kiddies, which hopefully some of the viewers will be a new terminology for them, but script kiddies who have gone, we're in a really deprived area in the world. And I can say this again, because this is a common theme, the likes of suburban Russia, suburban China, where you've got people who aren't necessarily following the legality and the governance that's required to use these systems, but they're then using this Worm GPT. They're typing in something as simple as, I want to lock a Windows machine, I want to lock all the files on it, and I want to deploy it over an email. Worm GPT will generate the whole code for that, make it a deployable piece of malware that they can send to their user. If they click it, it will do exactly what that user has asked it to do.
So this is like an evil twin of sort of ChatGPT or other AI tools, and the fact that that's so accessible in the same way as good ChatGPT is, that's scary. And presumably businesses need to be really reinforcing their guardrails from an IT and data security perspective, right?
It is exactly that. It is making sure you're going through these right thought processes, and it's that, Forbes, Financial Times, all of the top kind of stakeholders in the financial world are saying that, cybersecurity is now a boardroom problem. automation is now a boardroom problem. AI is definitely a boardroom problem. It's bringing those conversations to the top of the chain, not just having them in your, your dark IT office that sits in the corner, or your guys who sit there with the hoods up, because that's not what this is anymore. It is now a conversation that CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, CISOs need to be taken seriously and bring to the table. CISOs need a louder voice. CTOs need a louder voice. They need to stop being the quiet people at that boardroom table and realize that they're actually probably the driving force of a business now, as key as the CEO and CFO.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more from what we're seeing. And this is something that's just arrived, and is suddenly landed on the desks. It's certainly from an AI perspective, and I think probably from an IT and cybersecurity perspective, it's probably a bit of a hot potato. Yep. People don't necessarily want to own it, but actually, as you say, the board, that level, really need to grasp this by the nettle, don't they?
100%.
Now, just listen to you talk and the passion behind it, the knowledge behind it. I can see why on my notes I've got here about Torbay being named Silicon Bay. Mm-hmm. So I think someone like yourself is playing an instrumental role why it's got that title. But could you elaborate a bit more what's happening in Torbay and indeed Devon, really?
Brilliant.
To be called that.
Where do I begin with Torbay? So I'm going to start with a little bit of a history of Torbay. And it's amazing how you kind of touched on earlier on, the boat trips in Brixham, from going across to Torquay. Torbay is much more than what people see on the outside. People know Paignton for Paignton Pier. Do they know Paignton for the Epic Centre and the high-tech cluster, the Excellent Centre, the Electronics Centre, Innovation and Photonics, that is the world leaders in photonics and quantum technology?
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
And it sits in one of Paignton's retail park, opposite Lidl's. And it is one of the world leaders in what it's doing. QLM, for example, are a fantastic company, and the work that they're doing to kind of identify gases in the atmosphere. There's world-changing research and world-changing manufacturing going on in Paignton that people aren't aware of. I mean, people know the whole Nortel era of Paignton, and they thought once Nortel left, Paignton's now a deprived economy. That's all they had. That was the only big business they had. I met a chap at rugby on Saturday, and I was there with Trowers and Hamlin. It was a fantastic day. I sat down next to this guy, and he was like, I work in retail in Torquay. My take on that, is, okay, he owns a shop in Torquay Seafront. I didn't know that he run a £30 million business that sits out of the way of the main street, and that those types of businesses are in Torbay. So I said to him, we need to have a conversation because we need you at the forefront of this mission-changing, transformative state. We're situated between Plymouth and Exeter. Exeter's always been the steady economy of the Southwest. Plymouth has just been labelled as one of the 5 corners in the government industrial plan. Therefore, the investment coming in from the government now is significant. We also look at Babcock and the dockyard investment and, everything that's being built down there. Everyone knows about that. There's a brilliant supply chain down there. We've got national providers coming into there. You think of it like Hinkley Point. When that changed, all of a sudden there was a huge investment into that economy. They realised that was a fantastic nuclear power station, fantastic place to have it. All of a sudden, there was so much investment in that area, and that area thrived. The same is happening with Plymouth. The same is happening with Exeter, and we're going to make the same happen to Torbay.
Wow. And I know it's happening too, because you said so. The power, the conviction in your voice is just that it is. Thoughts become things is one of my favorite kind of things I live my life by. And I can just hear that passion in every time you speak. There's so much I want to ask you about. This is, like I said, an AI podcast. But this next question is about networking, okay, and the importance of it. And you've recently become involved with a network called Run Network. Is that correct?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about Run and your thoughts on AI in the future and networking, maybe,
So the Run to me was kind of a transform. Firstly, actually, I'm going to touch on what our values are and why we align very well with the Run.
Please.
We're a next-gen people-first technology solutions provider. What does that mean? It means everybody wants to be next-generation AI, pulling in those automations to their business. We can help with that. We're people-first. We're not the IT company that's sat in the corner anymore. We're not that dark, hooded up character that I spoke about just now. We are people first. Like I've been in IT for 10 years. I can look at anybody in the eyes, have a conversation and talk to them about their risk. That's because this is a boardroom problem now. In terms of the run, their people first mentality and community is what first drove us towards them. So we turned up for a first event for, it was a fantastic atmosphere in the room. Everyone talking to everyone. It was brilliant. There was conversations, there was laughing in the room. And we realized this is something we want to be a part of. So we stepped away from the first one and kind of connected with the owners, had a conversation with them. We came back for the second one and it doubled in size overnight. We came back for the second one and there was 150 people in Ivybridge Rugby Club in a marquee, and the room was just erupting with conversation. Everybody was starting to know everybody, and it wasn't that, I believe, old networking mentality. It wasn't that old networking mentality where people were trying to get around the room and speak to absolutely everyone, hand out business cards, shake hands. I mean, you understand that more than anybody, but it got away from that completely, and it feels like a really trustworthy community, and it really does feel like there is actually that people first mentality. Really kind of going there, knowing that you can have a conversation with anyone in the room about anything. You're not going to be sold something, but you're going to get transparent answers and advice if they're an expert in that area, of course. But for us, so we've just become regional corporate partners. What does that mean? It means we're opening up in 13 different locations across the Southwest, opening up in London, opening all over the United Kingdom. I mean, it's similar as to your partnerships and the fast growth they had yourselves. But, we're seeing this unbelievable growth really quickly. Need to keep on top of it to keep that driving momentum forward. But that's what we're here for as regional corporate sponsors. It's, championing it from a business perspective, showing that it is working, and the philosophy of people first needs to be sung throughout every business.
Always people first. Like I said, friends, people over profits is another one of my sayings I like to use. And going back just from the networking I've had in the past, and when your partnership started, it was all about turning up to a meeting and reversing it in terms of, instead of turning up and people dishing out those cards, we've all been in that scenario and being sold to, reverse it. And every person you meet, ask them how you can help them. So if you turn up at a network event and all of a sudden you've got 100 people asking you how you can help them, as opposed to here's 100 business cards, it's a total switch. And it's all about, and any kind of growth in a network is amazing, but it's making sure you keep that as well, because as it gets bigger, sometimes the messaging can go off. You have new members join and they go straight in and hand out a business card because they weren't there 8 years ago when we said, look, go in and say, how can I help you today?
So it's that mentality of, we've gone in there, more people are asking what we do than are telling us what they do.
That's right.
And that's when
that's it. That's why it's working.
I believe that's when you're in a good networking community.
Correct.
And, it's the first one to say, so what do you do? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to make sure I come along to one of them. And how do you then see then AI? Because we're talking about human touch here. That's what we're talking about. When you go into a room and you're seeing a real human, how do you see AI playing out in the networking world?
Oh, that is a very, very strong question. In terms of keeping people first, obviously, one thing with AI is it's not going to be that replacement of people. Those connections, AI is not going to be a center of influence for you, firstly. AI is not going to build relationships. If I sent you a cold call and you picked it up and you realized it was a cold call, are you even going to give me the time of day?
No.
Exactly. But I've come here today, we've met. We clearly have a lot in common. We've got a fantastic relationship. I'm hoping we're going to meet up after this. And
play golf together, man.
Exactly. We go sold. But we can meet up. I want to learn more about what you do, because I believe relationships in business these days are not a one-way commission deal anymore.
Correct.
We work with a lot of companies who say, oh, well, we can recommend you, but we want 20% of whatever you earn. And I'm like, that's not the model anymore.
Yeah.
It's about, what do you offer? What do I offer? Where do we align? Where do we not align? Who are you speaking to? Who are your customers? And that's questions AI can't answer for you. So, as much as we love AI and we'll push AI as far as we possibly can as a company and push the governance and push the security, we can't replace connections. You can't replace friendships with AI. Not yet anyway. We'll see maybe we'll come back in 10 years and we'll have this conversation again with my new AI friend.
Well, that's right. Maybe another guest of the show, But I'm totally with you. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Matt?
I mean, let's hope AI doesn't replace personal relationships, because I think that's so important. And from what's really coming through about everything you've been talking about is just how vibrant the business community is. Certainly down here in Devon, you talk about Plymouth, Exeter, Torbay. I mean, it's, you know, the tech clusters down here is just incredible. And I think what's really coming through is actually what's driving a lot of that is personal relationships. It's going out to these networking events. It's building relationships with people. And, you know, AI can certainly be a tool to help, you know, in the backroom side of things. But in terms of actually going out, putting the work in to build relationships with partners, with other companies, you know, that's where you still need that human interface, right?
I say exactly. And
That'd
I mean,
be a sad day when you lose that.
if we look at our relationship, Matt, I mean, you didn't work with us because we were experts in AI. We didn't work with you because you were experts in governance. We worked together because we built a relationship out of an event that we met at. Yeah. You know, and obviously Helen's kind of rise to CEO of the Devon Chamber kind of inflamed that, of course, a little bit. But, you know, that was, again, that's a people first response. We've realised she's in a fantastic position to be pushing this out. We built a fantastic relationship across the board. We met at our office, realised our businesses had so much in common with our message and our values that we wanted to tackle the problem together, not try and go. I don't believe there's such a thing as also as competitors in business. You know, I could have looked at Matt that day and say, "Oh, he's trying to push out AI. That's our thing." You know, I want to look at the governance, not him. But I've gone, you know, what are we experts in, and what are you experts in, and how do we align that?
So much synergy there, right?
Exactly. It's like a package deal now.
Absolutely.
You don't get me without Matt, and you don't get Matt without me.
But yeah, I mean, we're dealing with clients, and you know, we're not IT cybersecurity experts. You know, we're AI consultants and experts. But you know, when we're working with clients, there's an element that they need a foundation of IT and cybersecurity in there. So, you know, that's where you guys come in, right?
There are far too many companies out there, and I'm not going to point fingers, but there's far too many IT companies out there who firstly brand themselves as cybersecurity companies. That's the big flaw at the minute. And this is what I kind of say to anyone listening. Obviously, you just got to do your research into how are they defining themselves as cybersecurity providers? And also down our route, you've got a lot of people saying they're now AI providers. You know, we don't brand ourselves as a provider or developer of AI. What we brand ourselves as is consultants and advisors on AI. We can help automate your business, but we need your input. We need people input to develop AI solutions. And we realized that we had a gap where Matt's expertise and his background came in. And, you know, it's that governance piece. It's Matt being able to sit in front of the customer and learn about their business thoroughly. And that's where we developed our partnership is, you know, me and Matt can sit in a room together with a customer and they'll open up far more from both angles, because I'll have angles that Matt's not going to be considering and Matt will have angles that I'm not considering. And together, all of a sudden, we've got the whole picture. We're not then deploying an IT and AI or a cybersecurity solution without understanding the customer first and the people that are working in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on an award that you guys have been nominated for, and that is the 2025 EMEA MSP Titans of the Industry Award. Tell us about this.
It's quite a mouthful to say, isn't it?
I know, that's why I had to look at my notes. I was not going to get that wrong.
So Tomlinson Solutions, we've been nominated for a global award, which is for us, firstly, severely humbling. You know, from as I've gone through the journey from 4 years ago when Ian and I met to being up to me flying to Los Angeles in 9 days to go to Beverly Hills to be on a red carpet with apparently celebrities. I don't know what caliber of celebrities, whether it's just going to be some, you know, podcast hosts.
Got my ticket.
No, we don't know what the caliber. They've said there'll be celebrities there. You know, whether it's going to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Taylor Swift or something like that. You know, who knows? You know, it's one of the most prestigious awards in the MSP industry, the MSP Titans. It's an award that's been running for around 4 years now. It's a very prominent award in North America, but it covers globally. So we've got people coming over from EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Asia, including ourselves. We're one of 3 finalists across the globe of many nominations.
That's amazing. Sorry to interrupt, but just in itself, isn't it?
It's as I said, it's really humbling just to get to finalist. You know, but that's not where my mentality stops. I don't stop. I don't believe in, and this might sound really horrible, like cocky to some people, but I don't believe in second place. Me personally, the way I'm driven, I mean, everybody can be driven in their own way. I believe in going out there and doing the best for myself every day. And for me, that's this gold medal. And that's winning this award and making Tomlinson Solutions a global award-winning managed service provider. So we can continue supporting our clients and the Southwest in the best way possible.
I believe you're going to get there. There's no doubt in my mind.
No, well, we wish you and the team all the very best of luck.
I appreciate that.
No, we certainly do. Now, look, I need to wrap things up shortly, but if you could leave our audience with any kind of takeaway from today's podcast or anything you've not mentioned about AI in general, what would that be?
Stay agile and don't get too set in your ways. The business world is changing and you need to be changing with it. Otherwise, you will be left behind. That whole point that I made earlier of, is AI going to replace the jobs? It's going to replace the jobs if you don't find a way to disrupt the market. And that's what we brand ourselves as now, as market disruptors. We're not going to be left behind in the IT world. I can name 10 companies on the top of my head. I'm not going to, but I know 10 companies on the top of my head who will be, because they're not embracing the change and they're not going with the curve. It's impossible to stay ahead of the AI curve and ahead of the cyber curve, because you've got the whole likes of 0-day attacks and, AI that's coming out, which we don't even know about yet. But it's staying as tightly close to that curve as we possibly can. How do we do that? We go out to innovation events every single week. We strive the business on innovation with guardrails. Guardrails is your governance, your regulation and compliance. Innovate between that all you like. Really show up, be there at these events. Don't go to these events trying to get work, but go out there and try and find something in your industry that's different. If somebody's got a event on how to introduce AI in the legal sector, turn up at that event. Don't expect to be getting work from it, but go in with the mentality, how can I make a difference to my business today? And how can I innovate my business today?
Great words. Great words, my friend.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's been a breath of fresh air meeting you today. I mean, we always have great guests on the show, do not get me wrong, but you are, and I get to meet a lot of people, and you are absolutely right there, my friend.
Appreciate that.
And at 25, you have just got the most amazing future ahead of you, and the company's lucky to have you, that's for sure. Now, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way? Website, email, phone call?
Best way to get hold of me, LinkedIn, of course. Troy Wheeler, in brackets, you'll see Mike. My name's not Mike, so don't go along that. It's a qualification.
Okay.
Troy at tomlinsonsolutions.co.uk. That's TROY at TOMLINSONSOLUTIONS.co.uk. I hope I spelled that right. But that'd be fantastic.
Put it on the screen,
there we go. See it here.
Post-production.
See it here.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I just want to say to our listeners, to our viewers, if you've enjoyed the podcast, then please give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, tell your friends, tag all your connections. We're having some amazing conversations with some amazing people. But I've really enjoyed this one today.
Likewise, it's been fantastic having you here, Troy. Thanks ever so much for coming in and
Been my absolute pleasure.
sharing some of your words of wisdom. Yeah.
Oh, loved it. Loved every second of it, guys.
Indeed. Well, that's it for this episode. We look forward to seeing you in the next. See you soon. Thank you very much.